Mission accomplished. The meeting between Narendra Modi and Donald Trump went about as well as it could, with the shadow of friction points. While the shadow of friction points was evident, it did not mar the visit. This is not terribly surprising because high-level meetings are carefully choreographed in terms of final outcomes and discordant notes are suppressed or finished. With Trump, there is of course always the risk of the unexpected, but the Indian side can come away with the sense that it was largely mission accomplished. What are the key takeaways for India? Joint statements are indicative of priorities and the biggest takeaways. Unless there are secret agreements, it is always useful to look what is upfront in a joint statement for clues. The statement features six areas: defense, defense, trade and investment, energy, technology and innovation, multilateral cooperation, and people to people ties. In that order, it is safe to say that the first three areas are key: defense, trade and investment, and energy. The Foreign Secretary's special briefing to the media more or less followed the same order in terms of the areas of agreement, though it was perhaps significant that in his remarks multilateral cooperation came last. Significant because Trump's America is focused on transactional bilateral relationships and suspicious of indifferent to regional and international partnerships. As a result, almost everything in the multilateral cooperation section was blameless and boilerplate. The big friction points going into the meetings were trade and immigration. India's large trade surplus on the back of high tariffs and status of illegal migration to the US. Delhi can be reasonably satisfied with how both these were treated in the joint statement. In essence, the US avoided slamming Indian tariffs publicly. The road ahead seemed to be find a way to reduce the surplus through multi-sectoral trade agreement to be concluded by the fall of 2025. As for illegal migration, the two sides agreed that they would aggressively combat illegal migration and the networks that facilitated the word aggressively undoubtedly reflecting US insistence and focus on networks being on Indian preference. At the same time, Delhi has come away with an assurance that the US wants to continue with student visas, visas for professionals, and legal migration. If India pressed the point about mistreatment of recently repatriated illegal migrants, it was in private and it got no recognition in statements during the visit. The third potential friction point was the Gurupantwan's Gurupantwan Singh Pannu assassination case. Just hours before the Modi-Trump meeting, a senior White House official stated that Trump prioritizes nothing more than the safety of every American. This was in response to the question whether Trump would raise the Pannu issue with Modi. In his media briefing, the Foreign Secretary referred the joint statement indication that both sides would deal with elements who threaten public and diplomatic safety and security and sovereignty and territorial integrity of both relations. This takes into account the US concerns over the Pannu case and the India concerns over the anti-India protest and separatist activities in America. Beyond the management of friction points, the visit was notable for these three agreements. The first was a new 10-year defense partnership agreement to be signed 10 later this year. As part of this, India will get the Javelin anti-tank missiles, Stryker combat vehicles, and more P-81 maritime patrol aircraft. Plus, US will co-produce AI-enabled unmanned systems for underwater domain awareness, not mentioned in the official statement but featured in Trump's remark, is also the promise to consider selling the India F-35 combat aircraft. Secondly, partly to deal with the Indian trade surplus, two sides have committed to increasing Indian oil and gas imports from the US. The Foreign Secretary suggested that this would be from 15 to 25 billion dollars in the near future. Beyond this, India will continue to improve the civil liability framework to enable US help in building both large and small modular reactors. Finally, nested in this section on technology and innovation, beyond all usual words on developing semiconductors, AI, biotech, space cooperation is an agreement to launch a strategic mineral recovery initiative to recover key minerals from heavy industries such as aluminium, coal mining, oil and gas. Critical minerals are vital economic and military resources, and China is well endowed. Modi's visit was both symbolically and substantially productive. The Prime Minister got a warm embrace from the US President and met key figures friendly to India such as Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, and Vivek Ramaswamy. There were no tensions over tariffs, though higher tariffs on Indian products will likely soon kick in. The areas of cooperation ahead are solid ones to deepen defense, trade and investment and technology, energy and technology. The Prime Minister and his team should be smiling on their way home. Little England, Great Britain. Those protesting Bengali signboards in London must know they can't have both. Kurtas, salwar, imitation jewellery, jackfruit hanging from hooks. Is this Sarojini Nagar market? The thought may fleetingly strike you before beating just as sudden a retreat you see in the prices. It's Whitechapel in London nowadays, more known for Zulfrazi than Jack the Ripper. You'll see one of the biggest mosques in Western Europe, and bit further down the road, an underground, literally Somalian restaurant with an old Delhi vibe where you can eat something biryani type on a shared plate. In this cultural khichdi, there is nothing particular about out of place about a sign displaying the local tube station name in both English and Bengali, nor is there anything surprising about an MP from Nigel Farage's Reform Party complaining about it. Elon Musk sticking his oar in is practically a given. But what's interesting here is the deeper cultural politics underlying it, that of the British or rather English rights war on London. Set against nativist imagination is London's historical reality, that of a bustling port city that always hosted travelers from across the oceans. London has hardly been ever 100% white and English, so English nationalism seeks a whitewashed, homogeneous London that never really existed. The imperial nostalgia that sometimes accompanies such nationalism conveniently LD's imperial cosmopolitan. It's a contradiction. You can't have both Little England and Great Britain at the same time. The tension has a parallel in people's self identification, whether we see themselves as English or British. Such an exclusive vision of the nation would struggle to swallow a multicultural British London. Therefore, the latter's history must be erased, its diversity smoothed out, and its many tongues cut out if it is so be the capital of England, not Britain. With emphasis on self-interest, fair flair for deal-making, Modi and Trump set India and US on a promising path. During Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Washington, India and United States established an ambitious agenda to deepen their bilateral strategic partnership. Trump's emphasis on reducing the trade deficit, now favoring India, and swift repatriation of illegal immigrants from India has now cast a shadow over the relationship. But Thursday's summit signaled the determination to reduce differences and deepen agenda of cooperation. The unveiling of compact catalyzing opportunities for military partnership. Accelerated commerce and technology is likely to become foundation for high quality relationship between two nations. For India, the challenge lies in translating result-driven agenda articulated by Modi and Trump into tangible outcomes. With Trump expected to visit India later this year, Modi's diplomatic agility in responding to significant shifts in U.S. domestic and foreign policy must now be matched by proactive measures. Modi and Trump exhibited finesse in addressing the issue of illegal immigration. Modi has agreed to repatriate verified illegal immigrants from the US, while Washington is now prepared to collaborate with Delhi to combat human trafficking by large targeting criminal networks of facilitators. On the topic of legal immigration, an area of intense debate, the leaders acknowledge the globalized nature of today's workforce and the importance of facilitating legal and sustainable mobility. US trade relations also took center stage, with Trump demanding urgent action to improve market access for US goods in India. His criticism for India's abuse of tariffs reflect a broader critique of the global trade system. Negotiate a fair trade agreement in coming months. Ambitious $500 billion in annual bilateral trade by 2030. In contrast to the challenging surrounding, Modi and Trump found opportunities to enhance bilateral ties. For instance, in the energy sector, India, major importer of hydrocarbons, is poised to benefit from the US as a significant exporter. Both countries have agreed to strengthen cooperation in nuclear energy sector. On defense, India is prepared to increase imports of US arms. The leaders have committed to expanding their technological cooperation to emerging technology areas such as artificial intelligence. The potential for new strategic compact between two nations is underpinned by the convergence of Modi's India First and Trump's America First approach. With heightened emphasis on self-interest and flair for deal-making, Modi and Trump may have set India and US on a promising path. So that's all. See you in the next one.